بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه أما بعد. I hope you had a good break. We begin inshallah with the following chapter 31.
Chapter 31. To pay zakat is a part of Islam. Narrated Talha bin Ubaydullah radiallahu anhu, a man from Najd with unkempt hair came to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we heard his loud voice but could not understand what he was saying, till he came near, and then we came to know that he was asking about Islam. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "You have to offer prayers perfectly 5 times in a day and night, 24 hours.
Okay, this hadith has many narrations to it, and the longer version of it, and it is disputed whether this person is the same one or not. So the hadith, Dumam ibn Tha'laba, may Allah be pleased with him, who came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, "By Allah who created the 7 heavens and the earth, did Allah send you?" He said, "Yes." "So what did he send you with?" And the Prophet started ﷺ saying to him about the prayers. He also said to him about the zakat, etc. Now here in this version, we have only the salat and the siyam. Is it mentioned zakat? Is it? Yet? Where is it?
Next page.
Excuse me?
Second page.
Second page.
Go down, brother.
Go down. I'm going down. There's no zakat. Why didn't he rate the zakat then?
Come on, brother.
Come on, brother. Come on.
Wake up, brother.
First of all, the hadith I have in Arabic does not have zakat. And one of two, either the hadith that I have is the original, which is because I took it from the original book, or it is not, which means that the book I have has a mistake. You have the original book? Does it have Arabic English?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Show me. What is it?
74.
أيوة. طيب. Okay, it has zakat, which means that the book I have is been cut, the version I have, which is very strange. It shouldn't be. Anyhow, it is more logical that you read the whole thing again, please. And it's more logical that the Bukhari mentions it, and it has to be there. So apparently the book I have is wrong. You learn something every day. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says, once a person stops learning, he's not a scholar. So alhamdulillah, I've learned something. Jazakumullah khair. You all taught me this thing today. Yes, again, the whole thing, please.
Chapter 31. To pay zakat is a part of Islam. Narrated Talha bin Ubaydullah radiallahu anhu, a man from Najd with unkempt hair came to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we heard his loud voice but could not understand what he was saying, till he came near, and then we came to know that he was asking about Islam. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "You have to offer prayers perfectly 5 times in a day and night, 24 hours. The man asked, Is there any more praying? Allah's Messenger ﷺ replied, no, but if you want to offer the nawafil prayers, you can. Allah's Messenger ﷺ further said to him, you have to observe fast during the month of Ramadan. The man asked, is there any more fasting? Allah's Messenger ﷺ replied, no, but if you want to observe the nawafil fast, you can. Then Allah's Messenger ﷺ further said to him, you have to pay the zakat, obligatory charity. The man asked, is there anything other than the zakat for me to pay? Allah's Messenger ﷺ replied, no, unless you want to give alms of your own. And then that man retreated, saying, by Allah, I will neither do less nor more than this. Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, if what he said is true, then he will be successful, that is, he will be granted paradise.
Okay, the word at the very end, he will be successful. In Arabic, aflaha in sadaq. And the most famous narration is aflaha wa abih in sadaq. Meaning aflaha, and I swear by his father that he will be successful if he is telling the truth. I will come to this at the very end, inshallah. But first of all, the hadith proves that zakat is part of the pillars of Islam. We have established this before. But what is noticeable, that this hadith is an example of many hadiths that we may encounter in the future. And one would have questions. One, why didn't he tell him about the shahada? Why didn't he tell him about Hajj? And the answer would be that so many times the Prophet ﷺ drops things that are known by default. So the man coming and asking, by default he's a Muslim. And this is why he's asking. So he does not have to repeat the shahada. But what about Hajj? We know that Hajj was one of the late pillars that was prescribed. What do you mean by late? We know that Salat was before Hijrah, and Zakat and fasting was on the second year. Hajj is disputed whether it was on the 6th or on the 8th year of Hijrah. So it was late. So most probably and most likely it was not mentioned here. Or it was not mentioned because the man's house or tribe was far and there were problems in attending. So the Prophet knew that he was unable to perform Hajj. Allah knows. Secondly, it shows us that what counts and matters in Islam are the pillars. And voluntary acts are up to you. And nothing in Islam is mandatory except the 5 daily prayers. And nothing fasting is mandatory except the month of Ramadan. And nothing mandatory concerning zakat except in your wealth except zakat. Coming back to prayer. This hadith is used to reply to the scholars who say that witr is mandatory. Some schools of thought consider witr to be mandatory. And this is found in some countries, like the subcontinent, for example. They take night prayer as part of Isha. So when they ask me question, and they say, Sheikh, how many rak'ahs do we pray for Isha? I say 4. They said, no, we pray 17. Oof, what do you mean? I said, no, 4 of farz, 2 of sunnah, 4 of nafil, and 3 of witr. And they have classifications, and they take it as a package deal. If you don't pray it, then your whole Isha is not acceptable. And this is wrong. What counts in Islam is the faridah, the 17 rak'ah you have to pray during the day and night. 2 of Fajr, 4 of Dhuhr, Asr, Isha, and 3 of Maghrib. These are 17 mandatory prayers, rak'ahs you have to pray. Whatever is extra, then this is voluntary. One would say, okay, what about Eid prayer, Janazah? What about eclipse prayer? These are not obligation upon the individual. It is upon the community. It's called communal obligation. If one does it, the rest are exempted. But if none does it, they're all considered to be sinful. Likewise for the month of Ramadan. And this is important for us when we deal with people. Nowadays, if I see the brother on Arafah eating or drinking, how would I look at him? How would I treat him? If it's an Ashura and he is having lunch, I will look down at him as he's not a good Muslim. And this is dangerous. Once we start judging people over things that are not mandatory. And this is why a lot of the companions used to not fast on the 6 days of Shawwal. Imam Malik, for example, if I'm not mistaken, does not fast it or recommend fasting it. Some do not recommend fasting Ashura or Arafat because they are afraid that it might become obligatory in the minds of people. Of course, this is too extreme. As long as the hadith is authentic, the reward is established, fasting Ashura or Arafat is something that is recommended, but we cannot look down at people or criticize them for not doing it. This is up to them. So this hadith shows us that success and prosperity is dependent on the pillars. If you add more, be my guest, this is your advantage and this is for your own good. But if you don't, you're not doing any sin, none whatsoever. Now, in the end of the hadith, the Prophet said, أَفْلَحَ وَأَبِيهِ. By his father, he will be successful if he says the truth and abides by what he said. Because the man said, I will not add or deduct any of what you had said. So this was problematic to a lot of the scholars. Why? Because in Islam, what's the ruling on swearing by other than Allah? It is totally prohibited. So how to understand this? Scholars gave a number of justifications or answers. One of them, that there is an embedded word that was deleted, such as أَفْلَحَ وَرَبِّ أَبِيهِ. By the Lord of his father, he has succeeded. But this is weak, because then we can put any embedded thing when we swear by our fathers, by the Prophet ﷺ, by the Kaaba. People do this and say, yeah, I meant by the Lord of the Kaaba. But you did not say this. The second interpretation of scholars, they said that this was permissible before the prohibition came. So in the beginning, everybody did it, and it was permissible in Islam. But then it was abrogated, and the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, do not swear by your fathers, because this is shirk. So it was abrogated, it's finished. The third interpretation is that this is not meant as swearing. The Arabs have a number of phrases they use, but they do not intend it or mean it. For example, the word wail, what does it mean? Wailun lilmutaffifin. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Wail. Woe. What was woe mean? Ouch. Now, woe means, one of the interpretation in tafsir, it's a valley in hellfire where a river of pus, blood, and filthy things run out of it. So this is a warning that whoever does this will get this valley in hellfire. And nowadays, if I see someone, I said, waylak, or I say, wayli, do I mean dua against myself or against him? No, this is something that is said on the tongues of the Arabs, that they do not intend it. Yesterday I said something, if you remember, ثَكِلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ يَا مُعَاذ. O Mu'adh, may Allah make your mother lose you. Now, did the Prophet make dua that Mu'adh may die so that his mother would lose him? If he made dua, Allah would have accepted it and Mu'adh would have died. But this is something that runs on the mouth, not intending it. Likewise, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was coming back from pilgrimage, so he wanted to go to Medina, and the companions told him, wait, Safiya cannot come with you. He said, Aqra halqa. These two words in Arabic mean, may Allah slaughter her throat and shave her head or her hair with a blade. He's talking about his wife. But the scholars say, no, this word is said to show sympathy, anger, sadness, but never intended for itself. He said, Aqra halqa. Why is she not coming back to Medina? They said, O Prophet of Allah, she is on her menses and she did not perform tawaf al-wada', the farewell tawaf, the last tawaf. He said, let her come, because the woman in her menses or in postnatal bleeding is exempted from this tawaf. So, coming back to this word, some scholars said that this is not intended, and this is how you try to combine and to clarify and to justify. So the ruling is, yes, it is not permissible at all to swear by any other than Allah. This is established. How to justify the Prophet's action, alayhi salatu wasalam? One, either this was abrogated, it was before permissible, and this is the win-win situation. Two, it is not intended, it's something that the Arabs say. And three, there is an embedded word of Lord or Allah, so that it would fall in line with swearing by Allah Azza wa Jalla, and Allah knows best. Okay.
Chapter 32. To accompany the funeral procession up to the place of burial is a part of faith. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, a believer who accompanies the funeral procession of a Muslim out of sincere faith and hoping to attain Allah's reward, and remains with it till the funeral prayer is offered and the burial ceremonies are over, he will return with the reward of 2 qirats. Each qirat is like the size of the Mount of Uhud. He who offers the funeral prayer only and returns before the burial will return with the reward of 1 qirat only.
Of course, this is again one of the branches of Iman. To follow, to take care, to prepare the corpse of a Muslim deceased. So the Prophet ﷺ is highlighting the fact that you get 2 qirat. Each qirat is equivalent to 1 mountain of Uhud in good deeds. Yani how many good deeds? 1,000? 100,000? 1,000,000? Allahu A'lam. This is so big. So if you simply pray on the deceased. How many takbir? 4. How many salam? 1, not 2. And you finish, you will get 1 qirat. But if you follow it until the graveyard and wait until it is buried and overdone with, you will get a 2nd qirat. Now, Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab, the great companion of the Prophet ﷺ, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father, when he heard this hadith, he didn't believe it. Of course, Abu Huraira is narrating it, but Abdullah ibn Umar said, this is too much. So he sent to another companion to ask him if he had heard this from the Prophet ﷺ, and the other companion confirmed it. He said, yes, I heard it from the Prophet, not from Abu Huraira. So 2 companions confirmed hearing it from the Prophet ﷺ. Ibn Umar started to cry. And he said, by Allah, we have lost so many qirats. Had I known this reward before, I would have not left one single funeral without following it and preparing it and burying it. So much reward. Now, who among us does this during his week or month or year? Who in the past month not prayed on janazah, followed the janazah until it was buried? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You don't die in Malaysia? What is this? Not a single one? There's a problem. What's the problem? The problem is that usually we do not offer janazah prayer unless it is of a relative or of someone we know. Hey, our cousin died. We're praying Isha in so and so masjid. So we go. But we don't follow it to the graveyard unless it's a brother, it's a father, it's someone really, really close. This is not the doing of the Sahaba. The companions, may Allah be pleased with them, used to do this as a form of gaining reward. Once the Prophet ﷺ prayed Fajr, and he said, who among you is fasting today? Abu Bakr raised his hand. Who among you visited a sick person? Abu Bakr raised his hand. Who among you has given food to someone who's needy? Abu Bakr raised his hand. Who among you followed a funeral until it was buried? Abu Bakr raised his hand. This was Fajr. The guy did not sleep. So the Prophet said, as-salam, no one among you that these 4 qualities are combined in him in a single day, except Allah would admit him to Jannah. I know people, youngsters, in Jeddah, in Saudi, where I come from, who do these 4 once or twice weekly. Every day they go to the masjid near the cemetery. And they pray, hoping that someone will bring a dead person to... The minute he does pray, he goes and buys some food and give it to one of the beggars, African ladies who, do this in Jeddah. And he goes to the hospital, he visits any random sick person, and he is fasting that day because it's either a Monday or a Thursday. And they tell me, Sheikh, I did this, so inshallah I will include it, inshallah include it. Next week, Sheikh, khalas. Every week you're going to send me the same, khalas, inshallah. Keep on doing it and make it between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is something that we have to look into it. Before, it was prohibited for us to go and visit graveyards. Then it was abrogated and the Prophet allowed men to go and visit the graveyards. What about women? It's an issue of dispute. The most authentic opinion that women are not allowed to visit graveyards because they are soft in nature. Sheikh, you don't know women today. This is what scholars say. Sheikh, they can kill you and tear you into pieces and bury you. Not all of them. There are some. So, men are supposed to go to graveyards. We need to remember that we are going to be carried one day to that place. Now we walk on our feet. Tomorrow, we will be carried. So it's good when you visit graveyards to refresh your heart, to get you closer to Allah and remind you that I don't know when my death is, and this would inshallah make your life much, much more productive. Okay. Now I think we have to escalate a little bit the pace if we want to finish.
Chapter 33. The fear of a believer that his good deeds may be annulled, lost without his knowledge. Narrated Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, abusing a Muslim is fusuq, and evildoing and killing him is kufr, disbelief.
Okay, we spoke about this, haven't we? About the issue of killing. So we explained it yesterday, inshallah. And also we explained the issue of the word kufr, whether it has al-kufr or kufr. So here it is what? It has only kufr. So disbelief is wrong. Because if it's disbelief, if I kill someone, I will go to hell forever, as the Khawarij say. But we believe that this is a sin and it is not disbelief. Do I repeat it again, what I said yesterday? I said in Islam, in the Sunnah, we have the word kufr. And we have the word al-kufr. The difference is a kufr and the kufr. The identification article al, equivalent to the English the. And Ibn Taymiyyah says all the hadiths that have kufr without al refer to minor, which is not something that nullifies your religion, while al-kufr is something that is related to disbelief. So when the Prophet says, بين المرء بين الرجل والشرك أو الكفر ترك الصلاة, between man and disbelief is abandoning salat. This means that abandoning salat takes you out of the fold of Islam. But killing a Muslim does not. And yesterday we said that the Prophet, that Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in 49 Surah Al-Hujurat, if two factions of the Muslims killed one another, fought with one another, and Allah called them two factions of the believers. طائفتان من المؤمنين قتتلوا. So how can they be believers and kill one another? Because they are not disbelievers. They're still believers, but it is a major sin. So cursing, and the word is abusing. The Arabic word is sibab. As-sab is cursing. Not cursing by Allah, but swearing at. So if I say you are a donkey, you are a dog, you are an animal, this is what is meant by sibab. Nowadays, calling someone a dog is praiseworthy. People, hey, he's my dog. A'udhu billah. Why, akhi? So no, meaning he's my best friend. Your best friend is a dog? What about your wife? She's your... So, strange people. People who think like the West, act like the West, will end up like the West. Allah honored the Muslims, the human beings, so we do not attribute animal features to them. And this is why in the Salat, in the Hadith, you will find that do not pray like the roaster does. You know, just picking wheat from the ground. Do not prostrate like a dog or like a lion. Do not speak or make sounds like a donkey. Inna ankara al-aswat la sawtul hamir. And so many things about animals that we are supposed to not imitate or accept. So the word cursing or swearing, you're not allowed to do this with a Muslim. We abuse one another when we fight. We call one another names. And this is, as mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, fusuq. And al-fisq is to exit obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal, to go out of, this is an act of disobedience and an evil doing. So a Muslim does not slander, does not use abusive word. لَيْسَ الْمُؤْمِن, the Prophet says that the believer is not الطَّعَّانِ وَلَا اللَّعَّانِ وَلَا الْفَاحِشْ الْبَذِيء. He is not a person who uses vulgar language, nor slanders, nor swears and curses. Okay.
Narrated Ubadah bin As-Samit radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam went out to inform the people about the date of the night of decree al-Qadr. But there happened a quarrel between two Muslim men. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, I came out to inform you about the date of the night of al-Qadr, but as so and so and so and so quarreled, its knowledge was taken away, I forgot it, and maybe it was better for you. Now look for it in the 7th, the 9th, and the 5th of the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan.
What do we understand and learn from this hadith? First of all, that the night of decree, Laylatul Qadr, was known to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. It was well established. And this is why we have a hadith of some of the companions swearing by Allah, it is on the 27th. And some swearing that it is on the 21st. And others swearing that it is on the 25th. Which means that first they knew. But then at the end, Allah Azza wa Jal uplifted it. And the Prophet died, alayhi salatu wasalam, not being able to determine it. And this is why scholars differ. Is it a fixed night every single night, year, or it varies? The most authentic opinion, it varies. Now, people go into details, and the devil, so they say, okay, let's assume it varies every year. This year, in Mecca, it was the 25th. But people in India are one day earlier. So when it was on the 25th in Saudi, was it on the 24th in India? Or on the 26th? Or the same night? This is not your job nor mine. You are in Thailand, you are in America, you are in Europe. Whenever Laylat al-Qadr is, it will happen. When is it? It's not my job. I cannot say. First of all. Second of all, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, detect it in the last 10 nights. Then he said, detect it in the witr, the odd numbers of the last 10 nights. And then he said something that a lot of the people do not pay attention to, that detect it for 9 nights remaining, 7 nights remaining, 5 nights remaining, 3 nights remaining, 1 night remaining. What does that signify? The vast majority of Muslims only pray tahajjud on the night of the 21st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 29th. The even numbers, the 22nd, the 24th, 6th, 8th, they skip it. They go to watch football, they sleep. Why? He said, it's only on the odd nights. The other hadith which I mentioned, and this is what Ibn Taymiyyah said. He said that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, detect the night of Qadr لِتِسْعٍ خَلَوْنَ, meaning when 9 nights remain, 7 nights remain, 5, 3, 1 nights remain. How would we know how it remains? We cannot know until Ramadan is over. Then we can reverse and detect. But from the beginning, you cannot. Why? The month can be 29 and can be 30. If it is 30, then the odd nights would be 21, 3, 5, 7, 9. But if it is 29 days, then the odd nights would be 22nd, 24th, 26th, 28th. This is in this way, you can never know until Eid comes. And this means, and this is the best way of detecting it, that you must exert all the effort you have in the last 10 nights. Once you do it, you definitely attained Laylatul Qadr. Regardless on which night it is, it doesn't make any difference, because I prayed Taraweeh, I prayed Tahajjud, I spent time in the masjid reciting the Quran, making dhikr until it was Fajr. So definitely I'm a winner, insha'Allah Azza wa Jal.